I am really excited about presenting Maria tonight. She is such a force of nature and someone who really inspired me. And just getting on the phone and talking to her about what we might cover in this event, I got off the phone pumped and working on my passion projects. Yeah, she has a way of making you believe in yourself and to get into action. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the amazing Maria Tran. Thank you.
Do you?
What?
Remember when you first got ill?
Honestly, it's one giant blur.
Then what do you remember?
In the order.
No mission.
The founder of TRNG was the target of an assassination attempt 2 nights ago.
She's not dead?
It may come as a surprise to you, Echo 8.
So it's more of a secret mission, is it?
Sometimes I don't know what to believe anymore.
Believe in Zodiac. Believe in Agent 5.
Find the glory in all sameness.
You do know you're getting the short end of the stick, don't you?
What choice do we have?
We always have a choice.
I just want to find my daughter.
Don't fail the mission.
I know everything.
Not everything.
Good luck.
I don't need luck.
Hey, that's my line.
Okay, so that was just to show you the 3 movies that I'm working on. The first, you saw the first trailer. I made that several years ago. That was on $10,000. And then the second 2, which we shot at the beginning of this year, you just saw the first teaser, the first release of what the footage is. I am an actor, filmmaker, and educator, and I split my work in between Western Sydney, which is where I'm from, and where a lot of my skill building came from, and also in the US. And I run 2 boutique film production companies called Finside, and also I mentor a lot of other people out there when it comes to being creative and taking action and getting what you want in life, okay? And I'm really excited to be able to share my journey, especially to crowdfunding. And the reason why I really want to be here tonight, because a lot of times when people make things and they become successful, they don't really share their blueprint. And then everyone else has to figure their way out. And most of the time, people lose steam. When it comes to this industry, creative industry, you gotta have to have a level of stubbornness And I've been doing it for probably 15 years, and now I've kind of figured out the sweet sauce to how to maneuver in this sort of world. First moving $10,000 is very unheard of, okay? So prior to this globally, there was a man named Robert Rodriguez. He did El Mariachi for $7,000, and that film went nuts, okay? After that film, he got a Hollywood deal, etc., etc. So it really kicked off his career. And I thought to myself, well, what if for my first film, I thought of it as a video, group of friends come together, we make a movie, shoot it in 14 days. We didn't really care where it went, but little did we realize that that movie, which is now streamed on Amazon Prime, as well as Tubi, Apple TV, and soon to be on SBS, made a difference. Because we were always taught, you need more money, you need more resources, you can't do this, you can't do that. There's a lot of that goes against like the need, the yearning to be creative. And then I realized, wait a minute, who's saying all this stuff? What if we do something, and if it's successful, that means other people can start looking for alternatives to be creative, get the products out there, get the services out there, get their movies made. I am an independent creative filmmaker, and not only just with lived experience, but I do have a constant drive to reflect the world that we're heading, okay? So as much as people go, oh, Maria's an actor, Maria's a filmmaker, blah, 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 but really, I have a very deep interest in seeing what's going on in the world, and how do we find ways for people to feel connected through the work they do. So not necessarily just create it, but you can be in any industry, but have that same mentality. You will find that you feel more empowered and less disconnected. As when we feel disconnected, we don't do nothing, okay? So that's I would say my foundation. And also not only that about being empowered, taking responsibility and having the courage to express ourselves, but also developing the self-reliant of not only just depending on institutions, as much as I love institutions, organizations, but I do believe that as creators, we need to have some level of an independent spirit, because if anything happens, you are still in charge to making things happen. Right now, I really want to talk to you about where is filmmaking and creativity is heading. And the truth is, it's becoming decentralized and democratized. What that means is any one of you can create. Filmmaking creatives not only belong in Hollywoods or systems or institutions. Today, if you've got a phone, you've got a story, and the main thing is if you have the guts to tell it. A lot of people might have ideas, but the action part, they might be a little bit, toing and froing, and then they end up not doing anything. So that's why it's important that you build that courage to be able to take steps towards your ideas. For me, crowdfunding has changed the game, okay? Because platforms like Indiegogo, Kickstarter, they're now giving creators the power to raise money directly and not waiting for someone in a suit or in an institution to give you permission. But you also need to understand how that works, how crowdfunding works as well. So, we're seeing it everywhere. There's a rise of DIY filmmakers. For me, I'm in between the US and over there's a lot of us making movies, on lower budgets and being unapologetic. In Australia, there's a bit of a stigma. If you go around telling people, I've made a movie for $10,000, they just like, well, where did that go? But if you tell them the trajectory, they kind of look at you funny, because it's not a practice. It's not done enough for people to then go, wait a minute, there's an alternative model. There's an alternative model to being creative and also making movies. So for me today, standing in front of you, I'm hoping to be able to share something that you can be able to take and then activate in your own space. Okay, I want to take a moment, to spotlight some of the indie filmmakers who inspire me, These people they're not just creating, they're consistently building sustainable careers outside of the traditional model. First off, the Mahal brothers. Mahal brothers, they mastered the niche of horror and action, and they've done it again and again. They've raised over $4 million on Indiegogo through about 37 campaigns. I've been quite fortunate to connect with them. Unfortunately, Michael's passed away recently, but again, they've got such a big following. The next person I want to also highlight is Jason Horton. He's made over 20 directed over 20 feature films, but produced over 80. He's prolific. He's also another person who's very resourceful in activating crowdfunding campaigns and being able to create communities that put money behind his films. Each time Jason puts a film out there, I mean, sometimes I find it's a bit schlocky, it's a bit of its own genre. He raises up to 300,000 US. Can you imagine, like, thinking, ooh, these people putting all the money in your films? It's like there is a market for people who are non-filmmakers, who want to make films and who don't have the time. And if they believe in you and you've been proving that you have track record, they want in with that. So Jason Horton's been able to build a community. And for those of you who know in terms of the indie film sort of world, Robert Rodriguez, he's one of my favorite idols. I haven't met him yet, but he's recently launched his Brass Knuckle Films. He's raised, I think, about $4 million in just 2 months on his slate of movies that he'll be making in his own place in Austin, Texas. So that's the thing. We don't have to travel. We can activate the spaces, our communities, and put that at the forefront to be able to collect resources to make the stories that we want. Robert Rodriguez has done it because he did his first film on $7,000 US. It went off and did Hollywood, 3 million, 30 million, Spy Kids, Desperado, a whole lot. And then came back and said, you know what, I just want to make films with my community and I'm just going to fundraise it so that at least people who are part of my community get to own a piece to the film and it's not like your IP is being, taken away from the studios. So very, very interesting. These are the 3 people I study. Particularly Jason Horton, I really connect with because he's the one that, if you go on his sites, he educates people about navigating the space. He also inspires me to also give back. But through the process of giving back and helping other people, you grow a community, you create a revolution, okay? All right, so just the basics of crowdfunding. In case you don't know, some people might not understand what it is, but the basics of it is raising small amount of money across a large group of people to fund your creative dream, okay? As people see you try to strive for your creative endeavors, and that's exciting. Instead of watching reality, if they watch someone trying to create this dream, people want to be a part of it. If they like what you do, guess what? They can be a part of it by donating and all that. And for me, I swear by crowdfunding right now because prior to this, like applying for grants, applications, and each time you apply for funding, you get rejected and you go, what do I do now? Whereas crowdfunding, if you do well, that's your success and your community's success. So this is the power of crowdfunding, okay? But there are misconceptions I want to address with crowdfunding, okay? So a lot of times people think they set it up and people will come, okay? The thing is with crowdfunding, you kind of have to treat it like a business. When you set it up, you will still need to have to show up every day or every scheduled moment to also give back and build your community. But the great thing is your community is global, okay? So it's just not, it might start off local, but there's more opportunities to expand. My campaign, I would say 98% of my backers are from the US. People I don't even know of would back it, would become producers and non-filmmakers. They might be working in construction, mining, or whatever. And they're like, I like the idea, I'm backing it, and they don't want anything in return. They just want me to be successful because they want their name on something successful. There are people out there, and it's just exciting because you're like, wow, I need to keep on investing in myself. And that's what I want you guys to also think about. You need to invest in yourself, in your ideas, and really make it so potent that when you explain it to someone, people get it. People get what you're all about, okay? Another myth is pretty much, it's about getting the money. Crowdfunding, funding, lots of money from lots of people. No. I need you guys to stop thinking that crowdfunding is about the money. It's about the community. You have to put the community on the top of your head when it comes to crowdfunding. Each time someone crowdfunds, I treat them like family. My producers, they have direct access to me. They've got ideas. They want to, hey, Marie, here, what if I do this and that? I will help them through my own experience to see if they can go off and make their own films. Because it's a part of being a community. It's not about taking $1 off someone and you go, oh, it's for me and my project. It's not that. Especially if you want to be sustainable in your creative journey, it's not one-off. It's ongoing. It's ongoing. Every project that you do, you learn more about the world. You learn about the different people that support you. Most of the people that support me aren't creatives. They're non-creatives. From doctors to law firms to the non-creative side. But you know what? They're keen on wanting me to also understand their journey. So through the process of crowdfunding, you take the resources, but you also have to be there to listen and understand their worldview and think, can I put that story into the script somewhere? And that's the process of how I make films, is that we're co-creating with the people who back it, okay? Another thing is people say, you know what, I don't need much to promote it. That's definitely a fallacy. You definitely need to promote it. You definitely need to be confident in your campaign. If you're not confident, you're like, yeah, it's a campaign, yeah, you like that, who's gonna back it, right? If you're not your first cheerleader in what you are doing, don't expect anyone to back it. And it comes down with your own personal conviction and being able to spend time in thinking and reflecting on why you're doing things, not just on the outskirts of creating something cool. It has to be very universal to humans, humanity. I make action films because I know lots of people watch it. There's an audience for it. But I also want to be able to create stories that touch the heart, that bring communities together, that make people feel connected through an action genre. So that's what I do, okay? At the end of the day, visibility takes work. You know, community takes time, and momentum takes consistency. So yes, there's a lot of work. Okay, you can feel free to take a photo of this. 4 pillars of crowdfunding, okay? First off is the story. Not necessarily the story of your film. Not necessarily the story of your creative project. Your story. Why are you doing this? Having the ability to be clear and transparent with your goal, okay? Because if you're kind of waffling on and you're like, oh, it's all about the project. You know what? People don't back projects. You know what they back? They back people, okay? They back the people who are driving the projects. So therefore, you have to figure out, how do you turn up every single moment when someone asks you a question? How do you deal? And the best thing is, I find that if you're able to let go of the mask, then you're more free to speak the truth, okay? And that's why it's important to be able to tell your story when it's attached to any project, and being honest why you're attached to a project, okay? What moves you, why? And that's what people want to hear. Second thing is your crowd, your audience. You've got to think about them, okay? You've got to go, who's coming along on my journey? Who might want to come on my journey? Don't just think of your own project. You have to think of it as an ecosystem on, if they back you up, how do you help them? So you've got to think about your crowd, okay? And the great thing is, you're not alone, okay? Stories are universal. We watch it, we get moved, it changes people's minds, it makes people feel better about themselves, especially in the world that we're living, which is quite chaotic, quite stressing. I don't know if you see the news feeds, but it doesn't feel good. Each time you see all the stuff we're inundated. We need stories to uplift humanity, and that's why it's important that you know your crowd, who you're servicing, okay? The third thing is, if you're creating a crowdfunding campaign, you've got to think about your perks. Perks is basically what's in it for people. So especially once you set up the crowdfunding campaign, you've got to figure out what is it that people might want. That, for example, it could be something cool, could be something real, something they're a part of. Especially film productions, people always want to see behind the scenes. People want to be invited to be like a fly on the wall and be a part of the process. And especially if you engage with people who are non-filmmakers to be a part of the process, they get excited. And guess what? They're going to go off in their own industries and say, look, this is a cool project and this is what I'm doing. So that's a thing for you to think about, is the perk. And finally, consistency, the fourth one. Okay, a lot of times we set up a campaign, we ask for money, and then we run out of steam. We don't follow up. That's a bad thing. If you're going to get into crowdfunding, you got to see the end game in your head first. Don't get into it thinking, oh, I'm just going to wing it. No. You got to go, you know, I want to make my movie. I'm going to get my project out there. This is what's going to look like. I want to hit screens. Okay, these are the things I have as a vision, and I have to honestly conserve my energy and not do extraneous things that don't go down that path. You need vision, okay? Definitely need the vision, otherwise you're gonna float, okay? You're gonna drift, but with vision, you know what, you're gonna act, you're gonna inspire, and you're gonna lead. And that's what it would take for people to back your campaign. So, with crowdfunding, who has ever checked out Indiegogo? Indiegogo, yeah. Okay, so it's good to check out the platforms because if you don't have time, have a look at Indiegogo. I do connect with the CEO of Indiegogo, so I do get a sense of understanding stats and how things work and how to craft your project to be successful, which I will show you later on. But one of the things that's important is your video, okay? Your pitch video. And if you don't have a good pitch video, a lot of times people kind of disengage. It doesn't mean you need to spend a lot of money in your pitch videos. Most of the time for me, I just figure out the lighting, but the background is like a black bed sheet and then some weird lamp that gets thrown to the back with some cookie cutter thing. Like I DIY it so that at least I kind of give the aesthetics that it looks legitimate. But at the same time, I also own the fact that it's scrappy. And I want you to own the fact that if you are not having a lot of resources, you use what you got. And you be proud of it, and you maximize what you got, okay? So I'll show you my little Indiegogo campaign for you to get a sense of what a pitch video looks like.
Hi, my name is Maria Tran, and I'm the producer, director, and actor of the Echo 8 trilogy. And I'm so excited to present to you that we are now doing the post-production campaign, and we're inviting you to come on board for the finale. We've just completed shooting 2 feature-length films in 50 days with $50,000 Australian, with amongst a crew and cast of 200 people in Western Sydney. No studios, no gatekeepers, just grit, heart and hustle. It all started with Echo 8, Australia's first female-led indie action film, now streaming on Amazon Prime and Tubi. It won over 20 international awards, proving underdogs can punch above its weight. Now we need your help for the final stretch. Post-production, marketing, distribution, getting these films on the big screen, as well as global billboards by March 2026. This is your only shot to grab some of our amazing perks, from getting your name credited as a producer, making a final cameo appearance in our film before we lock picture. Back the Echo 8 trilogy and be a part of a global movement that supports female stories, cultural representation, and fearless indie filmmaking.
So you know that on CapCut, right? So pretty much you have the power to make these in your phone, right? Your phone, but what makes the difference is you need to have an eye, or you need to have in your crew or your team, your core team, someone who understands what globally would really stick. Because you don't want to make something that kind of looks like it's for a local market, because then you won't be able to reach. But if you make something slick, then you'll be able to find ways to get people who would back it, who know nothing about your project, who like it, and who can feel the excitement of what you're doing, okay? So yeah, so these are the campaigns. And the thing with Indiegogo is once you start your campaign, whether you're successful or not successful, guess what? It's on the internet forever. So you don't want to be an unsuccessful campaign because your name's going to be attached to it. So whenever you do a campaign, you've got to really strategize to make sure that you do reach whatever it is that you're asking for, okay? So my first campaign, I only asked for, about 10,000-ish, and we got 71 backers. Actually, my first campaign, I was scared. I was really scared because I didn't even know how to do Indiegogo campaigns. I was freaking out. We did it anyway after we did research on the Mahal brothers, Jason Horton, and we figured out a strategy, and we hit it. And then the after one for the 2 movies, we ended up getting, 45, but that's 45 on the Indiegogo. We actually did a lot of business deals on the outside with different corporates who go, I really like your idea. Can you find a way to shoot in my location? Can you put a theme about, real estate? Like there are different people who want to back your films just so that they get to plug their products and services. And as creators, we have to be smart on how we depict their product and services without selling out to our audiences as well. So that's the juggle as a creator, okay? And then post-production, we just did it because we wanted to let people know, hey, we just finished making the movie. Here's some first look teasers, get people excited. And anyone who's kind of FOMOing, who are like, man, if I don't back them, I'm missing out. And, if I don't back them and they take off, well, like, I'm not attached to that. They will want to come to be a part of it. And they will be some of the producers that you get on board that, again, people are strategic. I've had people in companies back the campaign because they go, if you're a success, we're going to use because we're a producer, we're going to use your trajectory and then go off and then find a bigger client. And if that comes through, we'll then want to work with you, which is what you want to encourage. You want to encourage people to be entrepreneurial. So if they come on board and back it, go off and market it. Market it as a backer so that if you get a big thing, we can come on board to help you out. We don't want to be like, hey, just about me, our project. No, it's about setting up an ecosystem for everyone to win. So again, like, we do frame it in the community sort of backdrop of making movies. Most of the people who are in our movies are non-filmmakers and non-actors. How cool is that? A lot of them are non-filmmakers and non-actors. So what that means is prior to the filming, I had to run a lot of workshops and also lobby with various councils to get funding to run grassroots workshops to cultivate the next generation of potentially actors or crew. And then not only that, hire them in the production. How freaking cool and sustainable is that, right? You use people, you skill them up, and then you give them roles in jobs. That's the most efficient way to go about it. And especially if you're on $50,000 for 2 movies, and you saw the first look teasers, they look a bit like, whoa, how did you do all that? So therefore you have to tap into community as well as businesses, as well as creatively, how to tie everything together. Okay, here we go. 3 stages of crowdfunding campaign. A lot of people think that once you put the crowdfunding, you're gonna collect the ka-ching. There's a lot more work than that. There's 3 stages, and I want you to think about the pre-launch stage, because a lot of times people don't focus on this, okay? Pre-launch is where the real work happens. Before you even think about going live, you need to grow a community of people who care about your project, and you need to be able to build and test the why of your campaign, okay? You have to. So you don't get that why right, and you set up that campaign, it will fall flat. So a lot of consultation, a lot of meeting up with people in various industries and let them know what you're doing, but also get their feedback. Get their feedback on how you could also create this campaign. There's a lot of times people who are non-filmmakers want to be able to do creative projects to then look like the cool kid in the non-film industry, right? Which is okay. I've been able to work with people who are coming from different fields that have never done acting and be able to coach them to get a supporting role in the film. And for them, that means a lot for them because they have visibility, they activate the people in their communities and their industries, and it will bring more people who want to make movies, okay? The live campaign, okay, we guess that's the launch time. This is where you open the doors and then you start, collecting your contributions from your backers. And it's something that you don't just set it up and just leave it. You have to actively engage or have your team engaged by doing little videos, exciting people about it, every step of the way. And as I said earlier, momentum is key here, okay? Without the momentum, you set it up in the first, 24 hours, nothing happens, and then you decide not to do anything. Well, it's gonna look pretty bad because you set it up. It's like saying, I'm gonna make a film, and you don't make a film. It's like, you were bad because you said something and you didn't follow through. So it's very important if you're gonna do crowdfunding, you better set it up so that you're successful. Once you finish with your campaign, you've delivered on what you've promised, you fulfill your perks, you keep your backers in the loop as much as you can, and that's the only way for you to keep following up. And then also think about it, because if you're creative, you're gonna make more stuff. So very important that community plus consistency will give your crowdfunding success. Here's another thing I want, graph, I know data, graphs, but I want you to look at this, okay? E-commerce. So when it comes to selling products, it's usually like an upward kind of like slope going upwards. And here it's important to understand that crowdfunding is not like e-commerce, okay? On the left, we have e-commerce, and that's your typical store model. Sales grow slowly over time as you learn more about your customers and improve your product. The difference here is there's no real urgency, okay? People can come back and buy whenever they feel like. On the right, we have crowdfunding, which is a completely different beast. Most of the time, crowdfunding is time-bound, usually 30 to 60 days, and it follows a U-shape. The first 3 days, okay, the first to the 3 days and the last 1 to 3 days are your most critical. And this is where you will see the biggest spikes in funding. The middle, it can get really quiet, which is okay, but you've got to understand that this is how crowdfunding works, how how people get a sense of urgency. They want to be the first to back it up in the first 3 days, and if it's about to close, people will want to join in because they don't want to miss out. So it's definitely not e-commerce, it's this U-shape, and it's good to be able to structure your campaigning around that. The next slide is the marketing funnel. Okay, this is where the journey people go through before they actually take action in your crowdfunding campaign. I studied psychology, so I had this thing where it's like a rule of 5 or rule of 7, and people need to see or hear something at least, 7 times, 5 to 7 times before they take action, okay? Whether it's a social media post, whether it is email blast, word of mouth, you rocking up and talking about your project and then adding value to people who are in your audience, they're more likely to do something once they see you, you're more visible, okay? So if you notice, the pre-launch is where most of the work happens. So in this pre-launch, you need to be able to help people create this awareness of your project, okay? This is where the first time a person hears about your project, and your job is just to get it out, get as much as possible. Again, look at local media, press, a podcast, get on radios. You need to spark their curiosity. So they're now invested to know a little bit more about your story. So something out there is cool, but then people kind of want to really know, is this person for real? Or maybe they're not really sure about their project. So they'll go back and watch a video, if you have a campaign video out there, and see if you're dodgy or not, okay? After that, we'll look at the point where people will ask themselves, is this something I believe in? Is this a project that I want to support? And again, once they start asking that, you need to start building trust. How do you do that? You release behind the scene footage, or you embarking on something somewhere. People follow stories, follow journeys. And that's in the consideration phase. The fourth stage, intent, okay? They're almost there, they haven't really backed you up, but they might sign up for your email list or your pre-launch page. This is just for you to just keep them engaged, because they will finally later on, if it's aligned to what they like, we'll back it, we'll consider it. All this, we'll share it onto people. But as you can see, to get people to back, holy moly, there's a lot of work that you have to do that a lot of people don't know about. People think that you put it out there, it's a cool project. Yeah, everyone's gonna like it, everyone loves action. No, people don't love action. They love to see you and how committed and whether or not you doing what you're doing is going to be a success. They want to back the people, okay? Now, earlier on, I showed you 3 people. Who was the 3 people that was on my list that I was inspired by? Does anyone remember the first person?
Robert.
Yes.
Robert Rodriguez.
One of them is Robert Rodriguez, yes. Jason. Who said Jason Horton? Yeah, it says Jason Horton and the Mahal brothers. Well, guess what? Jason Horton had given us a little video specifically for you guys, just to give you a bit of his insight, okay? So I'm just gonna play it, and this is specifically for this event, so I'm really excited that he's able to even give us a video, so really cool, really kudos to him. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Jay Horton. I've ran 4 crowdfunding campaigns successfully. The first one I did raised about $20,000. The second one raised $80,000. My third campaign was $130,000. And then my most recent, we just crossed $230,000. A couple of quick tips I could give. Number 1, set a realistic goal. Secondly, don't skimp on, your pitch video or the art you use. Like, that stuff should be good. There's a common misconception that people want to, give to the underdog or give to the small guy, but no, they want to be a part of something that looks like it's going to win. So like they want to see like a good poster, a well put together pitch video. While I don't recommend direct messaging people that you don't know, you do have to get comfortable with asking people you do know to help support. Momentum is super important. So like on that first day, you need to have a big first day. So like you need to message everyone that you are comfortable messaging, asking them to share, to support, to even just put in a few bucks. Try to get those backer numbers up on the first day. Another thing that people say is if you do not hit the 30% of your goal by like the third day, your campaign's pretty much dead in the water. So like that early momentum is very important because, like I said before, people want to support a winning team. Don't make your campaign too long. Some people do those 60, 90-day campaigns. You're going to hit like your main goal in 30 days. If you can't raise the money in 30 days, you're not going to raise it in 60. So I would keep campaigns short. And when it comes to the campaign, have at least one new piece of material for every day of the campaign. I see so many unsuccessful campaigns that basically have a single poster and they post that same poster over and over and over again every day and they never have nothing new. Now, I'm not saying you have to go and create 30, like well done posters, but, memes, different social media posts, still images, create little, little short videos, like giving updates to the contributors and whatnot. Like you have to have something new to post about before every campaign. When I do a campaign, before day one, I have like a Word document and I pre-write like 30, however many days are in the campaign, social media posts. So, that I have something to post even if I can't come up with something new in the moment. Of course I post organically during the day as well, but I have those like pre-done posts already done, in addition to, all the different, images and memes and posters. And I also say you should have more than one poster and, not just the vertical, have a landscape version, because for different social medias, they look better. Those are a couple of tips that I would give.
So Jason has been a bit of a fan of the work that I do in terms of Echo 8 Trilogy, but in return, I also learn a lot. I can ask him questions, and I also want to help him get the word out there because he says, we can't just do it alone. We cannot do it alone. We need to get you guys out there to feel comfortable about, raising your own money for your creative projects and that you become successful in it so that at least we can create our own ecosystem. All right. So I want to go back to this because a lot of times there's a lot that I would have shared just then, and a lot of you might be like, holy moly, do I really even want to do this crowdfunding thing, yada, yada, yada. What do I do? I'm not at that stage yet. Or, there's a lot of things I'm sure that's going through your mind. And if anything from this little workshop that I want you to focus on, that you can do regardless of crowdfunding, is constantly working on your why. Your why, okay? The why when the mask is off, what is it? Because a lot of the times we think our why is whatever the job that we have is our why, but we also need to have space and courage to delve deeper and go, actually, this is my why. And we're living in a time where we don't even get a chance to have that time and space to figure that out. Because once you're clear with your why and you're able to practice it time and time again, you start noticing that you will attract resources that will work for you, and then anything that you feel is a bit iffy, you don't even want to waste time, okay? So at least you then kind of like become less distracted on your creative journey. But I also need to have this core reason of who I am and what I want to say and who's my audience and who I want to uplift. And that's always going to be across everything I do. But then you won't burn out. Creative industries, you burn out a lot because you have to sometimes be caught in the notion of thank you, please, that kind of business. Yes, you can do that, but if you do that for long enough, you forget who you are. So therefore, when you do come to a point where you get stuck and you get burnt out and all that, then at least if you got your why, you can kind of like recenter yourself and go, okay, I need to figure out how to feel less tension in this project or in this job to then continue to do what I do, okay? So let's go into the why. So again, with your why, again, for branding, mission statements, for your crowdfunding message, all that's good. Personal introductions. As a creative, I do find a lot of creators, they have creativity, but when it comes to telling people their why, they do struggle with that. And it's so important that you do get clear with it, because especially you're working in a world where money talks, resources talk, you need to be clear and not waffle about your intentions, okay? And when it comes to the why, we've got this. So we've got the thing of, I help who do feel become what so they can do why, okay? And usually if you're able to express your why out first, you cut a lot of the waffling. And especially if you want to make change, you want to know that who you're talking to and if whether they're going to back what you're doing, you've got to be quick with it, okay? And this is something I learned in the US, because when I came to the US, went to the US, I was always very, and I got this thing, an Aussie thing. We're very self-deprecating. We kind of put ourselves down in conversations. We kind of make ourselves like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, like that kind of attitude. And like, I had my mentors in the US who would tell me, why do you do that? Your stuff's amazing. Why do you, as a person, when you present about what you do, you make it sound like it's nothing? And that is hurting what you're doing. You're doing so much hard work to get that gear. And when you stand in front of potential people who might want to back you, you self-sabotage. And I didn't even know that was a thing. And then when I come back here, I'm like, guys, we're going to change this game, yeah? Especially if we're going to do something that has a global significance. And if we want to reach global audiences, we need to appeal to a global market, appeal to those who want to see confidence in who we are. And we need to work on that, okay? I want you to think about your audience, your community, or your customer, or your who, what, the result, the transformation or benefit you help them achieve, and the why. What's the bigger purpose or impact of this transformation? Now, I know a lot of you might feel a little bit overwhelmed. You're like, oh my gosh, I have to do homework. My head already hurts after hearing Maria speak for more than 30 minutes about this crowdfunding business, right? But I need to get you to do work. So if I don't get you to do work tonight, you're going to go up, it's not doing anything at all. You go, yeah, I heard about that team that Maria did. Yeah, I heard about it. It was great. I don't want to hear that. You don't want to be able to connect you next time you have your workshop. This is what I did. Now we're talking, okay? So let's work on this. Now, in case you get stuck, I've done a list for you, okay? Now, this is more creative field, but if you've got others out there, you've got others, chuck it on your piece of paper. This is just to kickstart you, okay? And everyone's always taking photos. I'm always wondering, you take photos, do you even look back at your nose? It only works when you do something. You put pen and paper, there's some sort of tactile thing that you do, and then it all becomes subconscious and you'll be able to do something. So yeah, I help who do whatever, and then the why. So have a look through it. I've done some homework for you, so it shouldn't be too hard, I hope. Or it might be one of those things where you have a crisis, you're like, well, who am I? But sometimes I do get people feel as well, but that's okay. You'd rather have it in this workshop than by yourself, alone, by yourself. That's dangerous, okay? I'll give you about probably 5 minutes. Again, this is just a list that I kind of know about. You have your own world. I don't know you, so you need to fill it up with your context. All right, now who's a bit daring? Who feels like they can hold a mic and read this for the rest of the room? Yes. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Mariam and I'm a 15-year-old filmmaker who just wrapped her first feature film.
Wow.
And we had $2,000 by the way, so it was no action. Like you, a lot of the people in my team were not actually filmmakers or actors, so we were all learning on the way from YouTube and stuff like that. So I've written, I help young dreamers who are told to wait till they're older and that it's better to start small, that your stories are worth hearing and you can make big things happen with a lot of encouragement. Thank you.
Well done. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Congratulations. It is another one of us. There's more of us out there making movies. Fantastic. Who else?
I'll do my very best to. I make people feel strange and foreign emotions so they can experience more than what they perceive their life to be.
Fantastic. You know, what things is think is your one allows for people to ask probe more. So even though it might be people that are like, what is he on about? But I want to know more. So they'll ask you the questions and then for you to then anchor them into what specifically you do. So Stu and Joel.
Sherman.
Who else? Yes. Sir.
Hi, my name is Jamal. I'm a sound engineer and songwriter. I choose the change makers, the heal, empower, or uplift through the storytelling.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
G'day. So, for those that don't know me, I run Western Sydney Filmmakers Hangout. We do free networking events for filmmakers in Parramatta. So I help storytellers find a community so I can feel heard and help them, inspire them to create their own films, their own dreams, and make them come to reality. And if anyone's interested, July 26th at Park Royal Hotel. It's free.
Love it. I love how it just funneled it into something to do. That's right. You know how this is so good? Because people just say it and then automatically we're like, we get it. And if we were to go to that person, we know exactly what we want to probe. You know, so it's so important that we don't go waffly, we just go straight to that and then we can expand. With your statement, this is the stuff you can work on again and again and again to the point where it just becomes second nature, yeah? And when you meet people, network, you can just seamlessly do it without having to fumble, without having to question yourself. Because sometimes when we throw out one of these, we kind of go, oh my gosh, do I look like as if I'm, trying too hard? Which is the Aussie thing, which is the self-deprecating thing, right? But the thing is, if people don't really know what you stand for and they're kind of like you're waffling around, then you've lost an opportunity potentially for an ally or someone to come on board your project or for you to even help them. Because the thing is, we want to be able to always find ways to add value to everyone we meet. And how do we add value? First off is being good at what we do. Once we're good at what we do and we are comfortable and confident in telling people about what we do, we can then go on and add value and feel confident when we share it with other people. So for example, with your statement, you can adjust your statement. If you feel like these words might not represent you, go back and find the right words that you feel comfortable, that you can even say it underwater. My 3 secret sauce, just say everyone's like, oh, learn the secrets of crowdfunding, okay? Very simple for I think it's quite accessible to everyone. First one is vision. You just need to keep on practicing being bold. Yeah, being bold and clear about what you're doing. Give people that reason to believe in you by believing into yourself first. If you don't do that first, no one else is going to. Or people are going to find you confusing when you're trying to express yourself. So do the homework. Do you first, and everything will follow, okay? Have a vision. If you don't have a vision, you will float in life. And when you float, you'll have this weird tension in your body where you're like, I kind of wish I was here, but then I'm not, but then I can't. And then it's just a waste of energy, this tension, when this tension could be transmuted into something creative that could also add value in the world and a clear value. Second thing is community. Community is not a dirty word, okay? You need to identify your tribe, your supporters, who are your ride, or die gang, you want to give people something that they can belong to, okay? So the things that you make, you allow people to connect with you in their creative way. And that's how you build a community. You recognize people's diverse skills, and you as a creative, you fit them in to your grand scheme of things, okay? And finally, momentum. Gotta have this theme. That constant, small action, being visible, being out there talking, connecting with people, telling people what you represent. That that drives people to want to work with you, okay? And it's good to be able to test it out in little projects, because either if people don't like work with you on this project, in future they might also work with you when the timing and everything's right. We add value, we create joy, and we create win-win situations, is in any field, okay? And that's pretty much it. That's sort of like, you know, if you want, you can connect to my campaign. You can back me $2, you know, then you can get to see how I do things, and then one day you can also create your own. But also the process of backing a little bit will give you insight on the platform. Always, for anyone here, if you want to connect with me directly, you can as well. Hustle. If you need to get a skill set that you're like, Maria, you know, I really need to work on my speaking, my vision, all that. I'm a person that I will just be able to work with you one-on-one and get you to be clear. Because once you get that right, everything follows through. And now I'm going to open it up to questions.
Thanks very much, Marie. I noticed on one of your slides you had Indiegogo and ACF, and I'm wondering, for the benefit of people who aren't familiar with ACF, what you see as the pros and cons of Indiegogo versus ACF.
Indiegogo is a global platform. It started off as a film thing, okay? Filmmakers get together and then they would be on this platform. Over the years, Indiegogo is like all the big backers, all the producers' backers are hanging on that platform. So the thing is, when you're able to, let's say you create a campaign, let's say it's a small creative project, you set your goal as $500, which you will, you know, land within 24 hours, your campaign then what happens to it? It trends. And once it trends, it gets pushed out into the algorithm of all these people who don't even know who you are to look at your campaign. If they like your campaign, they'll drop the money. And that's why I like Indiegogo campaign, because we're looking at activating strangers and also to test if your project has a marketability for general audiences to connect with. ACF, I set up ACF and we raised, I think, about $20,000 on that, is Australian. And that was good for businesses in Australia to get that tax deduction. So there were like different firms that were like, you know what, we've got some money, can we get rid of it by putting it through here, but we need that receipt. ACF does that for them. So we did both because we knew that the benefits of both, but Indiegogo really kicked off because the fact that it got pushed out there globally. Yeah, and you want to test both. You don't want to just go, hey, I just do Indiegogo, but then you've got this ACF thing, which is a fantastic platform that no one knows about, that people can get that tax write-off thing, right? Yeah. Usually with my Indiegogo campaign, I will already have a figure. I will always say, okay, here we go. We're going to put it out there. We're going to go for 50. Oh, this is hard. I don't know if I want to get it, but I already have an idea that these other organizations might want to back it because of certain reasons. And you need to understand their motivation. And especially non-filmmakers, they ain't going to be there because it's a story. They need to figure out also their marketing strategy. We have like, let me see, we have like various backers, like even product like RS Carver. He just started and his company's just going really big and he's distributing like this tea drink into Australia. And once he backed us, I was like, okay, you know what, Ravinder, I'll be honest with you, this is a very weird product, but what we need to do is we need to create a character in our film that could drive that vehicle of your product without making it feel like product placement. So then I would have to talk to my writer about it, and then she'll have to figure it out. And then I'll look at his business, and I'm like, you know what? You're not very charismatic on camera. We need to get you on camera. How? We need to create a character where you are a part of, we see a bit of you in the film. And not only that, on the outside, create a bunch of socials for you that tie into the film. So it's not just making a movie, you also have to create some sort of value for that business to get exposure. The good thing with Ekekawait Trilogy, since it's online for about 18 months now, it's made its money back. It's been seen almost at 1 million people on like Amazon Prime and all that. The next two films are probably going to do the same or more. So we got data in terms of where it's going, but we also want to give like benefits to businesses to go, you know what? Yes, we're going to still make the film, but we want you to also win. You need to also have these strategies in place so that when this thing takes off, you have more benefit from it as well in your own field. So you had to think really deep dive in every contributor, every organization that you might want to get money from to really understand how to get them to drop the money. Anyone else?
I'm trying to get my film onto streaming services, and I do think we have a great story. We're trying to break a world record, and we have, it's a good quality film, an amazing team behind it. But I've sent so many emails, like I think almost 50, to different acquisitions teams, talking about my story, talking about my project, and I've kind of been ghosted. When I talk to people face to face, that's when they usually understand the vision and the project. But I wanted to ask, how can I get my film with zero connections onto these incredible streaming services?
Yeah. No, good question. Because when I finished Echo 8, I had actually distributors reach out to me wanting to give me to sign that piece of paper, that contract to get on different platforms. And I said no. And they'll be like, are you crazy? These people are saying yes. I'm like, no, I want to do it myself. And I hit up FilmHub's self-distribution. But the thing is, you have to also assess the quality of your film. Okay, so you can't just go, okay, I've got it distributed, but how come it's not, because once you distribute it, you'll know how many people have watched it and also how much money you make. So you still need to figure out, be honest, give your film to filmmakers who have an international sort of understanding of what films kind of like work, and have them give you feedback going, oh, should we need to work on the trailer, or how do we angle and market your film in a particular way so that it still gets out there? Because if you put it out there, it'll go to light. So really having to understand that. I mean, it's great to do a feature film, but you also need to figure out where it's going to go and if there's a demand for it. Now, for me, I do action and horror, and recently delving into horror, but the reason why I do these two genres, I was working at the American film market. I worked for a company called Anton. They're similar to A24, but they recently got $180 million injected from Studio Canal. And during American film market, the next 5 years, there is a shortage of action and horror. And because at the moment with action, particularly, it's really high. You have to have a lot of money to make it, right? There's no one at the bottom doing it. Definitely not the way I do it, right? But the thing is, there's now this whole niche that's the demand that needs to be filled. So therefore, in my head, I had to go think about it and go, okay, do I make things, if I want an audience, I have to know what does the audience want. And action and horror is a really good thing. Comedies, dramas, Australian stuff tends to be branded in a sort of weird way. Like, it's really hard for it to get out there. So you've got to be realistic with that, but that doesn't stop you from going to Film Hub and actually bring it on the platform and seeing it if it gets picked up. Yeah. I hope that helps, okay? Really hope it helps, and feel free if anytime you need to connect with me, Facebook, email me, hustle, just keep on reaching out. And a lot of times I will probably send out a little video or thing, and then we can just have a chat, and then hopefully we get you to continue to your next level. Think of yourself as Mario leveling up, and because you have to, otherwise you'll be stagnant. Nothing gets done. You be responsible on growing, okay? Awesome.